Awesome. All right. So then I'll record the Zoom as the backups. Here comes Scary Lady.
Recording in progress.
There she is. Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the Jimmy Butler having dreadlocks last year at Media Day, to Jimmy Butler dressing up as an emo bassist this year at Media Day. It's Adam Amawala. Adam, how's it going?
Gosh, protect Jimmy at all costs. I mean, honestly, at first, I didn't even think it was emo. I thought he was going for like the Karen haircut.
Some people thought that at first, but I think with the piercings and him saying that this was his emotional state, then I think that made it pretty clear. And then some other people were coming up with puns about it. Someone called him Ball Out Boy. Yeah. I saw another one that was Panic at the Free Throw. So really, really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Jimmy Heat World.
I didn't see that one. That's good.
Didn't even have to change the Jimmy.
It's really good. It's really good. Yeah. So it was great. And now for at least the next season, every time they use the official photo, because that's what happens at Media Day, they do hype videos and stuff that they use in like social media promos or on the jumbotrons of the arenas or whatever. But also, if you take a photo, then it gets used, I think, for the rest of the season. Even if you get traded, I think they just kind of like Photoshop the New Jersey on. But it'll be on ESPN. It'll be on Basketball Reference. It will be on your fantasy sports things.
Yeah, it's on when you do Immaculate Grid, which I think is tied to Basketball Reference. His ridiculous dreadlock photo from last year comes up. It actually reminds me, there's a comic that I know, this guy named Jono Zale, very funny dude. But for many years, he would do this running bit where anytime he had to replace his driver's license or passport photo, he would do something like truly unhinged. I'll find links to it because it's very, very funny. But that's both like very funny, but also for an actual ID, kind of a risky move.
Yeah, now I could probably guess this by his first name, but I'm guessing this man is white.
He is white.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier to have tricky ID airport passport situations, whereas my roommate in college, Omar, who is Pakistani, would shave the morning before every flight so that he wouldn't get randomly checked.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think there's more leeway for a white person's ID.
Oh, man. Now, before we can talk about all things basketball, we've got to get prepared, and we've got to make our emo Pete Wentz little hot iron comb-overs. And you know where the best place to do that is?
It's the Teal Memorial Locker Room. And honestly, you have the hair for it. I mean, you could do it if you wanted to. I don't have enough hair.
I really could. I just wouldn't want to. I've never done anything that would damage my hair. I've never dyed it. I have never curling ironed it. I have never flatten ironed it. I care too much about the health of it. But maybe I could find a way to do it that looks like it, but not necessarily damage it in the full way.
Yeah, I don't think you need it to be black to have the emo effect. Like, you have long enough hair that if you cover one of your eyes with it, it's going to do the trick.
Yeah, I could do it. If I let it grow out a little bit and then just kind of, I could go for that for sure. Now, Teal Memorial Locker Room, they've got all the stuff that you need, and of course, the healthiest versions of all of the things. You know who else has wonderfully healthy hair?
I have to assume our patrons, and particularly, you know, we've got some upgrades. We've got a new producer level patron. They must have great hair.
Yes. So shout out to Thomas Lucian, who upgraded his pledge. And then shout out to our newest producer level patron, Christine Rodriguez, a.k.a. Chelsea's cousin. I believe that there is a story behind this, as you told me before you recorded. So what's up?
There is a story behind this. We got a nice message from Christine. Subject line said, "I'm a patron. Yay, yay indeed." The message said, "Hey," 4 Ys, so I'm pronouncing it properly. "Hey, I'm finally living the dream and have become a producer-level patron of Horse. I love this podcast and love the NBA, as painful as it is. I am a devoted Blazers fan." Now, it makes me even sadder. This is me talking now, not Christine. This was 12 days ago. This was Christine describing pain before the actual pain that we are, of course, going to discuss with Dame Lillard being traded. But anyway, Christine says, "As painful as it is, I am a devoted Blazers fan. My dad delayed my birth in 1991 because of a Blazers playoff game. So you could say the universe made me this way. Now, Christine, we're going to need a lot more information about something that honestly should be that actually happened. I'm not sure how a man delays a birth, but, credit to your mom, Christine, for apparently being okay with delaying until after the game was over. In any case, the message continues. Anyways, I wasn't sure where to submit my patron name, but I would love to be referred to as Chelsea's cousin. What? Who the F is Chelsea? Well, Chelsea went to Rice with Mike, and they had classes together. When I started listening to Mike's pods, that connection always kept me coming back. Shout out to Chelsea.
Okay, yes, I know Chelsea Rodriguez. It's one of those things where you see Christine Rodriguez and you see Chelsea's cousin, you're like, well, Chelsea's a common name and Rodriguez is a common name, so surely it's just a coincidence. But no, I know Chelsea Rodriguez.
Yeah, if you saw Christine Mamawala, you'd be like, certainly that is someone who knows Adam. But Rodriguez, I think, is more of a common name.
That's very cool. Wow. What a small, wonderful world we all have. Well, thank you so much for the support. I very much appreciate that. We very much appreciate that. And we also very much appreciate the continued support of our producer level patrons, Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Dunko Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris. How about them world champion Denver Steam Nuggets? Oh, and didn't we miss something where last episode they changed their name to, how about them, like NBA champion instead of world champion because two episodes ago. Yeah. Yep. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So how about them world champion, I guess in quotation marks, Denver Steam Nuggets. Anna Reed, Steph Curry claims to eat Subway, but come on now.
There's just no way.
There's no way. There's no way. It's not good. Have I told you about my Subway take that it's not food, it's just hunger deletion?
I think that checks out, yeah.
It's like whenever you get Subway, you're a video game character and you're like, my hunger bar is red. I need to get it in the green. I will eat Subway. Like it serves a purpose. It's, between $5 and $10 and you won't be hungry for a couple of hours, but it's not good. And it's certainly not food.
No, yeah. Eat the slogan "Eat Fresh" feels ironic.
The slogan should just be eat.
It is food, technically.
Yeah, or maybe yoga mats. Continuing on. Hi, Trish, Nicole Shepard, Chase Underulo, Mr. Bubbles Plays Ball, Naked Rachel, Josh Isn't Rich, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, and now Chelsea's cousin.
How about that?
How about that? You know what else makes me say, how about that?
Probably ridiculing me over the number of tabs I have open.
Oh, you knew I was going to do it. Yes, this episode is brought to you by Tab for a Cause. Tab for a Cause is a great way to turn something that could be embarrassing, having lots of tabs, into something that is actually good for the world. Mm-hmm. Because every time you open a tab, with it, first you go to tabforacause.org/horse. Then you install it. Then every time you open a tab, you get a heart, and then you can pick those hearts, you can donate them to charity, and then that tells Tab for a Cause where to donate their money. They raise funds through small ads that you might see on these homepages, but they're tucked away in the corner, and the pretty backgrounds are very pretty, and they support a lot of great organizations. Let's do a tab check right now. I've got 2 open. They're both for horse. How many do you have open?
Big day for you. I've got I got 14.
Okay. That's respectable.
Yeah.
That's respectable.
My baseline is 10. Like there are 10 that are just always open.
Well, if you want to turn your tabs into good, you can go to tabforacause.org/horse and get it installed. It takes just a couple of clicks, and then boom, you can channel that energy into good.
Cool.
Now, before we continue the episode of Horse, you're going to hear some other ads. Some of them will be read by us. Others of them won't. The ones that are not read by us are inserted locally. So if you live in not America, you might hear an ad in not English. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back to this episode of Horse. All right, Adam, we're back. What do you got going on in your life?
Well, more of the same that I talked about the last time. I have the show in Boston that I'm headlining. That is Sunday, November 5th at City Winery, at the City Winery Loft. I believe it's called the Haymarket Lounge in Boston. Ooh. So that is that Sunday evening. Please buy tickets to that as soon as you can. And I'm happy to announce I will be headlining Stand Up New York in New York City December 14th. Are you still going to be here, or are you going to be in Texas? You're going to be in Texas, right?
I'm going to be in Texas. This would have been normally... Just this time in particular, I finally did, which I will talk about, my Texas run of TNO shows that I've been talking about doing for years. I finally organized it. So I'm flying out the 9th or something.
I thought I might catch you. I thought I might still be early enough because I knew anything the week like leading up to Christmas was a no-go. But
honestly, if I wasn't doing this tour, I probably would have stuck around till like the 18th or so, and I would have gone. Gosh, one day.
Maybe next year. But if you are in the New York area, please come on out. I did this last year. I've done it the last 2 years, and it has been very, very fun. I also book some of my favorite comics from around the city, and then I do, 45 minutes or an hour of mostly new material. And it's going to be a grand old time. You can get tickets for that now. You can just find me on all the things. Go to my Linktree, linktree.com/Adam Amawala or AdamAmawala.com. You'll find all of that info. And then, of course, you and I have the live shows coming up in Philly and New York as well. So I'll let you tell people more about that and your other goings-ons.
Yeah, we just had the show in DC, which was a blast. Shout out to the folks who came through. And now we've got 2 more shows in October that are going to be about the bad Percy Jackson movie. So we're going to be in Philly on the 21st.
Maybe
you
I'll
will
love
be.
it.
You might. That's the whole purpose of you being the person who has not read the book but has seen the movie. Maybe we all just hate it because we like the books and it's not accurate. But maybe it's a fine film. We'll find out. But that's what we're going to be talking about in Philly on October 21st and in New York City on October 22nd. In Philly, we'll be joined also by Stephen Parra. And then in New York, we'll be joined by Sequoia Simone. So it'll be a blast. Adam will...
What a great name.
Which one?
Well,
Sequoia
both,
Simone?
but Sequoia Simone especially.
It's good. It's good. It's got a nice ring. Now, we will start these shows with Adam doing a little 10-minute stand-up set, so that'll be fun, and I'll be able to finally see that, even though I can't go to the New York longer one. But that'll be a good time. You can get tickets to those at thenewsolympian.com/live. And also, I'm going to be in all of the big 4 Texas cities in December. So going to do Dallas, then Austin, then San Antonio, then Houston on December 13th, 15th, 17th, and 19th, respectively. So you can get tickets to those shows as well at thenewsolympian.com/live. Most of the shows are going to be all TNO, but some of them are half Potterless, half TNO. So if you want some Harry Potter goofs in there too, come to the Austin or the San Antonio show. But that's the stuff there. Yeah.
Well, Mike, I hope the folks of Lubbock don't have anything to say. I mean, you talked about the big 4 of Texas, and you're omitting some cities that I think people might feel strongly about.
This is why I keep calling them the biggest 4 or like the main 4, because then I can just point to population data. Like it's maybe, let me just double check. Texas cities by population. The only one I'm worried about is if El Paso is one of those sneaky ones where it's like Oklahoma City, where it's enormous.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So we're good. El Paso is close, but not there. Houston, 2.3 million. San Antonio, 1.5 million. Dallas, 1.4 million. And then Fort Worth is another 0.9 million, and then Austin is 964,000. So I'm correct in my top 4, and then El Paso is only 682,000. So I'm good. Lubbock's 255,000. So like, talk to me when you get to 2 million, like Houston, my kind of maybe little bit hometown. The Big H.
Speaking of Houston, how long are you going to be out in Texas for the holidays?
Probably through Christmas, and we'll probably come back before New Year's, I would guess.
Okay, this will be very funny, actually, if this happens. This is very, very much like potential thing, and I don't expect it to happen necessarily. But there's a guy who books a couple rooms in Houston who's been talking to me, and one of the dates that he suggested was December 29th. But it would be very funny if you had just come back to New York and then I was in Houston, but I'll let you know.
Let me know. That would be a reason. I mean, honestly, we would probably look to fly around that time-ish. Yeah. So if I can stay and see you, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I don't know if it'll happen, but if it does, I think I might do a little Houston and then bring Celia with me and do an Austin for New Year's Eve sort of thing. I've never been to Austin.
It's there. It's fun. Food's good.
Oh, not a fan of Austin. You think Austin is the Subway sandwiches of cities?
I think Austin's fine, but I personally am not you gotta go on vacation to Austin.
Okay,
it's certainly the best vacation town of all the Texas cities, though. I would not recommend people go on.
The people of Paris, Texas are not going to like this very much.
Whatever, I don't care. They probably voted 99% for Trump. I couldn't care less.
Be nice. You don't know everybody there.
I don't know anybody there. So now shall we get into NB Q&A?
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. What do we got?
All right. So we have a Twitter question. This is from Ian, aka at, I think it's Jan, unless it's the European Jan, but at Jan Bass, JanBasss, who asks, Hi, horse boys. I have a couple questions for you. I was waiting for a train and a man walked by wearing a Warriors jacket and a Celtics hat at the same time.
Oh,
I thought it was weird, but I live in the Netherlands, so not a lot of people would notice or care. Can you do this in the US? Does it make a difference that these teams play in different conferences? What is the worst possible combination of teams that you could wear? Thanks, Ian. All right, so I love this question. Very interesting. And I will say, I did notice that the one time that I've been to India, I remember seeing this like a purple Chicago Bulls hat. Like it was clearly something where it was like the logo, but the colors didn't quite make sense. Here's my multifaceted answer. First of all, generally, I think you can kind of wear whatever you want in the world. I think that is a rule. But beyond that first step, I don't think it's weird to have two teams that you root for, especially in different conferences. I do think it's kind of weird from both a fashion and rooting interest perspective to wear those things simultaneously.
correct.
Where do you stand?
Yes, I think you shouldn't do this in the US because you will be clowned for it. I think abroad, it is just more of the I like basketball. And I get that. There's people who just like to enjoy watching Premier League soccer or one of the other good soccer leagues because they live in America and they don't get to see as good of a product. You know, the MLS is growing, but it's certainly not to that level. So there's some people that's like, I don't really care about a team. I just like watching the good players. So you can have that approach. And then also, it's just tougher to get particular merch. Like if I go into NBA stores abroad, you'll see they'll have like Knicks, Celtics, Lakers, Warriors, Bulls. Like they'll have
not
the
a lot,
big
not a lot of
prop
Pelicans
marketable
gear.
teams. Nah, there's not going to be like Timberwolves gear or Raptors gear, unfortunately. So I get it from an international perspective. This guy probably just likes the NBA, so that's fine. But
Must have been an interesting
in the
finals
US
for him a couple years ago. Warriors
I was
and
going
Celtics
to say,
gear,
it's
yeah.
weird. They played against each other. But yeah, I think in the US, you probably shouldn't do this. People make fun of you. Then as far as what's the worst combination, I think the easy answer is Lakers Celtics. Like if you're wearing Lakers and Celtics gear, like they've hated each other for so long and they still do that I think that is the clear winner.
I think that's true, but I also feel like, and we're biased here, I do think if I saw someone in like a Bulls shirt and a Knicks hat, I would be like, that does not make any sense to me.
Yeah, that would be weird. I also think that there's other ones, like if you were a Kings and a Lakers one, that's also weird because like they're both in the same state, but they clearly had the bitter rivalry in the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
especially because people think the refs ruined that series against the Lakers. They screwed the Kings over, which they 1,000% did. So I think there are some other ones, but Lakers Celtics is just such a historic hatred-based franchise rivalry.
I'm actually realizing now that I think I was supposed to make you wear a Bulls jersey at some point, and I don't know that I've cashed in on this punishment.
You haven't yet. You said you were going to do it potentially on the
game.
mandate. Yeah, but that just would have been
That would have
weird.
been
Like
strange,
I would have been weird. Yeah, I feel like, you know, I think the true thing, you should, if you have like a party at your place or something, just make me wear a Bull shirt to like your next like, you know, park hang or rooftop hang or apartment watching something with the boys hang, and I'll wear you know, the shirt you're wearing right now.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's kind of my answer. And the other thing is sometimes people are just wearing sports gear because they think it looks cool, not because they're sports fans. Like a Yankee hat is a perfect example of something you see people wearing everywhere. And some people like the Yankees and some people just think it looks good. I would say I see a lot of people, even in New York, wearing Bulls stuff. And sometimes I talk to them and they're Bulls fans, and other times they're like, yeah, I just liked the hat. That never happens with Cubs stuff, baseball reference. If I see someone in like a crisp blue Cubs hat, 95% of the time they're a Cubs fan and they're not just like wearing it because they like royal blue. R.I.P. Cubs season, by the way.
Yeah.
Oof.
I may have told this story on the pod, but the Yankee hat just gets worn all over. It's just like a fashion thing.
Yeah.
And when we were in Australia, that's when the Aaron Judge re-signing happened. And Kelly, knowing this was a joke, when we were on hikes and we would see people in Yankee hats, which was very, very frequently, Kelly was like, "Oh my God, you should talk about it. Like, aren't they really happy? You should talk to them about the Aaron Judge thing." I'm like, they couldn't name a player who's ever played for the New York Yankees. Not just this one guy, the most famous guy
Baby
on
Ruth.
the team. Not even Jeter Derrick. Now, let's get into full court press. Get it? Like the news?
I do, and there's news to be discussed.
There's news to be discussed. There's one really big thing that had a secondary kind of big ripple effect, but that is Damian Lillard was traded, and he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Not the Miami Heat as he requested, not the Miami Heat as people predicted, or if you're a Miami Heat fan that is grumbly, you think you had the birthright to. But he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks for a pretty sizable package that did end up becoming a 3-team trade. So here's how everything went down in the trade. So it ended up being a 3-team deal between the Bucks, the Blazers, and the Suns. So Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, who was a rookie last year, a 2029 unprotected Milwaukee first-round pick, and an unprotected Milwaukee swap rights in 2028 and 2030 and 2030, which is I think the first time I've said that phrase out loud. To all of that went to the Portland Trail Blazers. The Suns ended up getting Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson, and then the Milwaukee Bucks obviously got Damian Lillard. So pretty solid deal for the Blazers. They got a good chunk back, and then they traded Jrue Holiday to the Celtics, which we'll talk about in a second. So the Blazers really are in position for what they're trying to do, which is rebuild. The Bucks are in position for what they're trying to do, which is contend and keep Giannis happy. And then the Suns are in position for what they want to do, which is get DeAndre Ayton out of here, because I don't think Kevin Durant and Devin Booker like him.
Right. And the Celtics, in turn, basically got a Marcus Smart upgrade.
Yeah. So the Celtics then ended up trading Robert Williams III, Malcolm Brogdon, a first-round pick that is going to actually be from the Golden State Warriors, 2024 Golden State Warriors first pick, and then a 2029 unprotected Boston pick. All of that went to the Blazers, and then the Celtics got Jrue Holiday. So the Celtics basically said, who cares about depth this offseason? And they have a very good top 6, but their bench is quite weak. So it's very interesting in that the Blazers had all these conversations with the Heat, who represented the East in the finals last year. And then their main competitors, the Celtics and the Bucks, both got, I think, better, at least for like this immediate season. But I think the Celtics is pretty risky because they're putting all of their eggs into the basket of Kristaps Porzingis, who has an injury history, except for last year, he was healthy, and Al Horford, who does not have an injury history, but he is 37, which in NBA years is 94. So I think it's a risky move for the Celtics, but it could work out amazingly. I think it's a pretty much no-brainer move if you're the Bucks. If you can get Damian Lillard on the team, do that, especially when you have Giannis on the team. And then the Blazers...
Yeah, not only just getting someone of that caliber, but also the implication that it means that Giannis will stay.
Totally. And then if you're the Blazers, like you got young big guys to complement your young guards in Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. So now you have Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton. So you have young guys all at different positions now, basically. And then you got a bunch of picks. So Blazers looking good. Suns, I feel like it's a bit of a downgrade to go from DeAndre Ayton to Yusuf Nurkic, but they did get like more depth out of it, which they needed because they traded away a lot of people in order to get Bradley Beal this offseason. So for the Suns, I think it kind of makes sense, but I worry that, Nurkic might not be as good as Ayton was, and people are already frustrated at Ayton, so maybe they'll be even more frustrated at Nurkic. But I don't know. I think overall it's very interesting and kind of makes sense for everyone involved. But then if you're the Miami Heat, you got to be feeling upset. And you also got to be feeling upset if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, because you still have grumbly boy James Harden around, and 2 of your competitors also got significantly better.
Yeah, so overall, I think a pretty fair trade. Nevertheless, our condolences to Christine, a.k.a. Chelsea's cousin. I'm sure Blazers fans will miss Dame. We talked about this in a more extended way on the Patreon. We did a little kind of reaction video when this news all dropped. This was before the Jrue Holiday subsequent trade went down. But Dame was gracious and spoke about how much he loved his time in Portland. He posted a fairly detailed kind of farewell sort of message on his Twitter that we can share. Basically just saying, I grew up here. This is where I became the man that I am today. Like, I appreciate everybody in the Portland organization. I hope there's no hard feelings, yada, yada, yada. I am cautiously optimistic that when he returns this year to play in Portland, he will get a huge and very long standing ovation.
I think so.
And, you mentioned it when we talked about it on the Patreon, but like somehow him going to Milwaukee doesn't seem as douchey as if he had gotten traded to Miami, which may not ultimately be fair. Like at the end of the day, he wanted out regardless of where he ended up. But I do feel like it changes things a little bit.
I think there's a couple of factors that contribute to it. First, the Miami thing felt gross because Dame specifically was like, I want to go to Miami and nowhere else. And that kind of tanks his trade value and makes things harder for the Blazers. So I think if he got what he wanted, that would have made people angry. Not that they don't want Dame to be happy, but just because it really makes it hard for you to get the proper return on someone as good as Damian Lillard. I think by him going to Milwaukee, first off, it's just cool. Like him and Giannis on the same team is just cool. So I think that's a factor. I think him going to the team that he said, I gotta go here, that he tried to force his way, I think that softens the blow a little bit. And also, I think because the first trade of Dame was good, and now even especially after their second trade where they traded with the Celtics and got stuff back for Jrue Holiday, I think now because they got a whole bunch of stuff back, they're not super angry about it. Because it's not like he stomped his feet, made a scene, and then they didn't get anything back. Like they are in prime position for a rebuild. So even to Chelsea's cousin, I would say, don't worry about it. Like, yeah, you're rebuilding and you're going to be not great for a little bit, but you're going to be really fun starting immediately. And you're going to be in great position to be like one of these fun young teams like the Thunder or the Timberwolves before they cashed in for Rudy Gobert and some of these other things. Like you're in the space where you need to be for a rebuild. And for the Blazers who felt like this, they're always in between. Are they competing? Are they not? Should they blow it up? They played it perfectly, and they ended up getting a lot of stuff back just for Dame, and they're going to be in a great position. So I think, and because he has a legitimate chance to win a ring, that is, I think, what's really nice for the Blazers fans. Like they're seeing him, it's like, okay, he could win a title this year. Whereas the Heat, like, even if he got traded, it was like, yeah, the Heat are good, but I don't know, like they still lost some key pieces this offseason. So I think because the chances of the Bucks winning the title are even higher, I think Blazers fans are happy about it because it's like, oh, that's cool. He left because he wanted to get a ring. He actually might get it. Good for Dame. And then he'll come back, like he said in his farewell message. He's totally going to come back for one final season or a couple final seasons. Like, it would be super cool if he wrote out this contract with the Bucks and then kind of did like a Dirk thing where he comes back for, not that Dirk ever left, but after this contract is over, if Dame's next contract is with the Blazers, whether they are competing or not, he can be a mentor role. He can be a part of the organization if he wants to afterwards. Like, I think it could be really, really cool. And I think it's in a position where they're not going to hate him.
Yeah, I hope not. Meanwhile, Tyler Hero apparently pretty salty about the Blazers not wanting him. I don't know if you saw that interview, but he was asked kind of how he felt about how everything played out because he was basically the centerpiece of what would have been the trade offer that Miami presented to Portland, but apparently they liked what they got from Milwaukee better, and Hero apparently is out on a mission to prove the haters and doubters wrong.
I hope he does. I do kind of feel bad for him in that a lot of people were trashing him, and it was this whole thing where he was injured in the playoff run, and then the Heat were doing well, and he could have come back, and they were like, no, stay away, is kind of like the general vibe of the fan base. I would like to see him do well, but I don't know, I'm not like super invested in it. Yeah. Because he's Tyler Hero, and he does have something about like working hard tattooed on his chest in red. So I don't know how invested I am.
He did take a nice little shot at the Blazers, though, because at the end of it, he was like, yeah, you know, I'm really just worried about competing against the best teams, and the Blazers are not one of the best teams, which is true. But
Media Day is so interesting because you have all these interviews where it's very much encouraged, like, hi, would you like to shit on somebody now? Like, it's all the time. Or people just like intentionally shit on people. So the Raptors, for example, had their Media Day, and as we discussed on the pod, they are being sued by the New York Knicks, which is great, because if we get something out of it, cool. But Masai Ujiri, who is the president of basketball operations or whatever for the Raptors, he takes to the podium and he's like, I want to start with the Knicks lawsuit, and I just want to say this. There's only been one time in the history of the league where a team has sued another team. Just food for thought. It's like, what does that mean? You did something bad and we're suing you for it. Just because it's never happened before doesn't make it better. Like, I don't know if the Raptors, but I'm trying to think of like a crime that's bad that doesn't ruin the vibes. But if they did money laundering and then the league fined them for money laundering, he gets out there, he's like, there's only been one time that the NBA has ever fined a team for money laundering. One time. Yeah, you did it. You did it, and you're not allowed to do it. It doesn't matter if it's the first time. It's still bad. You don't get like a get out of jail free card because you're the first people to do it. It's so weird. Media Day's so weird. But I love it. I love it. James Harden didn't show up to Media Day, which is interesting. We'll see if he gets fined by the Philadelphia 76ers, but he just didn't show up because he really wants to get traded to the Clippers. So he's being super grumpy. Fun stuff. NBA Media Day. What a time. It's so strange.
It would have been funny though if James Harden was like, not a game. Media Day. We're talking about Media Day. We're talking about Media Day. We're sitting up here. I'm supposed to be franchise player. We're talking about Media Day.
It's going to be interesting whatever happens with that situation. Like, are they going to ask him, like, what were you doing instead? I was just hanging out.
Yeah.
Media Day's not hard.
No.
I guess it's awkward if you're actively trying to leave the team you're on and you don't want to have a bunch of photos of you wearing a 76er jersey. But like, all you got to do is put on a jersey, show up, and then you do a bunch of like in-game arena and TikTok content for the team.
But
honestly, some of the stuff looks really fun.
It does. But it's not fun if you had to leave your horsies behind in Serbia because Nikola Jokic he did not look happy.
No, he didn't look happy. They asked him if it was his best summer ever because they won the championship. And he said, no, it was the opposite of that because we had to play basketball for 2.5 months extra.
Hey, he's honest.
He's honest. He's so funny. I love that he's the best player in the league and he doesn't like it.
It is. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's so good. It's so funny. It's fantastic. And then some of the NBA Media Day things are really fun. Shout out to the Kings. They asked all their players, what do you think the beam sounds like? What noise would the beam make if it made a noise? So it's just a bunch of players going like, pew. It's really good. Some people took it really seriously. Other people just made a noise because they contractually had to, I guess.
Sure.
And then that was that. And that's NBA Media Day. And that's Full Court Press. Get it? Like the news?
I do. Let's get into this interview, huh?
Yes, we are now going to bring on our official WNBA correspondent, Jordan Robinson, formerly Jordan Liggins Robinson, but now I believe she's embraced just the Jordan Robinson as we will be discussing the WNBA Finals, which is between the Aces and the Liberty,
Shocker.
as we all predicted this offseason. Big predictions from us, but we'll be talking about that because by the time this episode goes live, Game 1 will have taken place previously on October 8th, a Sunday. So we are recording this one, though, on October 3rd. So we'll get all sorts of previews and what drama you can expect from the finals that are about to happen.
There you go.
So, as we just laid up the pass of the alley-oop, here we are dunking the alley-oop with the promised interview that we are doing with, of course, our WNBA correspondent. But you also might know Jordan as the co-host of the Queens of the Court podcast with Sheryl Swoopes. Yes, that Sheryl Swoopes.
So
and
cool.
Also the host and also a host for the Pac-12 network. It is Jordan Robinson. Jordan, how's it going?
It's going great. So glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Congratulations on Queens of the Court, by the way. I don't think that we've talked to you since. That is so cool. It's one of those things when you see the little notification, you're like, that makes sense, and that's awesome.
No, it's a pinch me moment every single time Sheryl Swoopes' name pops up on my phone, and I'm like, am I really texting the Sheryl Swoopes right now? Like, it has not gotten easier. It is still so much fun.
It's very cool. I don't remember what it was, but I feel like I saw Sheryl Swoopes replying to a tweet, like hyping you up for something, just like a proud mom or aunt.
Yeah.
And it was just so pure to see Sheryl being like, go Jordan, or whatever it was.
She's
Delightful.
the best, like the absolute best.
Before we get into asking you about the WNBA playoffs and finals and all of that, what is your personal relationship like as a fan of Sheryl Swoopes? Like, did you grow up idolizing her and now you're just trying to turn off that part of your brain that's like, this is my hero and we're doing a show together?
Regularly.
I really haven't turned it off. I tell her all the time that she is like the GOAT. No, my fandom, with the WNBA goes back to being a young kid growing up in Sacramento with the Sacramento Monarchs. So I've definitely seen her come to town way back in the day, especially just being somebody who's a fan of the league. That means I've had to learn the history of the league and knowing where Sheryl's name is everywhere in the record books, and that Houston Comets team, 4-time.
The greatest Houston sports franchise that ever exists.
Ever
they
to
gotta
exist.
Bring them back. I don't get it.
I
4
know.
consecutive titles.
And
Bring the Comets back.
They didn't even have to bang trash cans to score buckets.
I know, right? No, they are just everything that she's done for the W in women's basketball. I definitely have known her story. I did an interview with her for Just Women's Sports a few years back, and it was really short. It was a phone call, but we didn't talk about basketball at all. We talked about how she gardens, and she has like a homestead, and they make all their food and have their own cows and have their own meat, her and her husband in Texas. So we talked about that, and I was like, that was fun and just like exciting to talk to her.
Now, does Sheryl have a line of those little shovels called Sheryl Scoops?
Oh my God. That's it.
That
Cancel
is
the interview.
needed.
Jordan, we've taken up enough of your time. We're done.
Too
Wow.
good. I think I walked right into that one. But no, it was fun, and that's kind of where our relationship started. But now to be able to work with her, I'm always reminded that she was one of the greatest to ever do it when I'm like, yeah, you know, what's it like to be a reserve for the All-Star? And she's like, I don't know what that's like. I was only a starter. And I was like a
What a
5-time,
flex.
7-time All-Star. So yeah, she's great.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Very
funny.
cool.
That's incredible. Oh wow, yeah. I don't know what it's like to lose in the finals. Oh my gosh.
Seriously.
So, speaking of finals, the WNBA finals are upon us as we record this, and game 1 will have just finished as we release this. It is, of course, between the Aces and the Liberty, which was, I guess, like the betting favorite, but no one would ever take the bet because it's one of those bets where it's like so sure they wouldn't even put it up. But anyway, we've got Aces versus Liberty, which, though it might not be the most exciting matchup, the playoffs have still been fun. The matchup will still be super fun itself in terms of like the teams. What was your overall thoughts, I guess, of the playoffs so far, and now getting to this matchup of what we had kind of all anticipated, but we're excited to see?
Yeah, it was, we knew that it was going to end up being the Aces and the Liberty, but I'm excited that the Mystics made it a little interesting for the Liberty, and then Connecticut winning that game 1 against the Liberty, in Barclays, in Brooklyn. That really had everyone shook for a little bit. People were like, okay, maybe Connecticut can pull it out. Maybe they could do it. They're about to go back home. But the Liberty, winning 3 games in a row to get to the finals, I think was very impressive because they made the adjustments. And I think that's what gets me excited for these finals, because it's going to be 2 really strong, experienced head coaches going at it. And there is going to be adjustments and defensive changes and offensive schemes and matchups that they're going to exploit. So that's going to be super exciting. But before these, the Aces kind of had an easy route. I don't want to say easy, but unfazed.
Yeah.
They haven't dropped a game. Chicago would have been a long shot. And then you had Dallas, who beat them in the regular season, but just didn't show out. It was very much a Dallas team that was like, oh, we haven't been here before. We've never been in the second round. We have a new coach. We don't really know what these waters are like. So it was very much that. I think Dallas next season, even the season after that, are going to be really scary. But I think the Aces were able to just slide into that final spot. And now they are the reigning WNBA champions. So the Liberty have to come and take it from them.
Yeah. I feel very vindicated in a take of mine early this year where someone was asking, it might have been part of something we've done on the podcast. Someone asked before the WNBA season, what team should I root for? And I was like, get in on the Wings now. Like, get in on the Wings right now. It reeks of like when the Thunder had that playoff run against the Lakers where they like almost beat them and people are like, oh my goodness, like what's going on here? That's what the Dallas Wings feel like right now. Like they're going to be super spooky in 3 years, and they got a bright future ahead, even though they couldn't get it done against the Aces.
For sure.
Drama, of course, is something that we love here. And the MVP race was very dramatic. It was a 3-headed monster of, is Alyssa Thomas going to get it? Is Asia going to get it? Is Brianna going to get it? And Brianna ended up winning, even though she didn't have the most first place votes. and
Scandalous.
super scandalous. The graph of it, just seeing all the breakdown, like one vote could have made the difference. Super tight, super intense. How did you feel about that MVP race? And do you think we're going to have some Asia like I should have been the MVP anger towards Brianna in the finals?
I thought it was so interesting, especially because there was so much conversation and discourse around Alyssa Thomas having this record-breaking year with triple doubles, with double doubles, just never a season that we've seen before. And to me, that was an MVP type season. When you think of,
that's what I thought too.
You know, when you take her off the Connecticut Sun, they are not a third place team, not one bit, especially with Jones going down and not able to finish out the season with getting hurt. So I feel for Alyssa Thomas because she got those first place votes. So enough people were able to vote and say, yes, she's an MVP. But Breanna Stewart being able to kind of be consistent throughout all three places is what kind of put her over the top. I know Alyssa Thomas was just heartbroken, especially because when she was asked about it, she said, you know, I'm used to this. I'm used to being overlooked. I'm used to kind of always flying under the radar, which was like, heartbreak. But Asia, I think, was a little more shocked because I think she went into it kind of thinking like, oh, I have this. Like, my only other competition is Alyssa Thomas because of what season she was having. Not saying that Stewie didn't have an incredible season, like multiple 40-point games, set the record for the most points in a season. But I feel like she was kind of underlooked. Like, Asia was having such a dominant year on both ends of the floor. They announced Defensive Player of the Year early, a little off schedule. So then we were all kind of thinking, all right, does that mean that she got it and they didn't want to give her DPOY after? It was a lot of those type of things too. Sheryl even called it out. She said it's going to be either Asia or Stewie because it was a home game next game when they were announcing it. Like,
so insightful.
There's so many little intricacies like that. But then when it was Breanna Stewart, I was like, wait a second. I thought it was AT or Asia. Like, I just didn't have Stewie in that conversation. But one thing that really kind of turned up the drama was Ryan Ruocco said, you know, how much does legacy kind of play into this? Like, are you going to get Asia her third MVP before Stewie gets her second? Are you, you know, like,
it's the Jokic Embiid thing that happened this season.
Yeah. Like, why is that so much a part of it? That shouldn't be a factor. But you see the votes and you see that Stewie got the second most first place votes, and then it just goes down the line. Another fun fact is that the first time that happened where the MVP who won didn't get first place votes was when Sheryl Swoopes got it over Lauren Jackson in 2005.
Wow.
So I was able to talk to her about that. But it's so funny because you think, okay, first place votes, it should be done. Like, that should just be it. That's what people thought was the MVP. Why is there a second place, third place, and a fourth place? Why the hell did A'ja Wilson get a fourth place vote?
Does the WNBA make them public like the NBA does? Because
No,
that person
they
needs to be
don't.
that person needs to be fired immediately.
I agree. They should be banned from voting because that was personal. That seems rude, and you also don't know basketball. Why is A'ja Wilson a fourth place vote? What the heck? So that we were up in arms about that. But a lot of drama, a lot of conversation about it. And I think A'ja Wilson is happy that she got her Defensive Player of the Year award, but she knows that she wanted that MVP. She deserved it. She was dominant. She was the best player on the best team in the league. And to go up against Breanna Stewart, who got it, you know, her second MVP, when the ball is on the top of the key and it's in Asia's hands and she's going against Stewie, she wants to prove that I am the MVP. You guys got it wrong. I want to be able to show that. Now, regular season, we have not seen Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson square off and be themselves against each other. So I think we deserve that now. And just with the little added little spice of spite of not getting the MVP award.
I feel like it's kind of setting us up for a version of what we saw in the NCAA Women's Championship, where there was the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark drama, and then like obviously LSU won. Angel Reese got to have her like, you know, this is very difficult to do in an audio medium, but like covering my face with my hand
in the face.
Yeah.
And that's the same sort of vibe where A'ja Wilson, like, I have no doubt that if the Aces win the championship, A'ja will be like, yeah, I wish I had been the MVP, but like, what would you rather be, the MVP or the champion? And to tie it back to the MenBA, as we refer to it here on Horse, 1993 and 1998, 93, Charles Barkley is the MVP. And guess who takes that personally? Michael Jordan. And in 1998, Karl Malone, who we hate on this podcast and also in real life, also wins the MVP. And Michael Jordan has an extra chip on his shoulder. And I think there could be some of that here with A'ja Wilson. And it was already going to be a great matchup and a great series, but now it adds that little extra spice to it that we love here.
It does. And A'ja, you know, she doesn't have a finals MVP. That's like the only award that she doesn't have. So I think she's gunning for that. And you know, it's hard to bet over Chelsea Gray, who won Finals MVP last season, and just
she shot 150% from the field.
Yeah, like it was insane. And I know she's gonna go to another level again because that's just what she does. But I think A'ja we're gonna see a different level of A'ja as well in this finals.
Yeah. I think A'ja will certainly talk some trash if they end up winning, especially if A'ja ends up getting the finals MVP. Because even the other day, she was trash talking NBA 2K for the WNBA player faces not looking accurate for some of her teammates. Like she's not going to hold back for something she truly cares about. If she can muster up the spite to shade NBA 2K, I feel like it's not going to be hard for her to throw some shade at either the voters. I don't think she would like do it at Brianna specifically, but I feel like throwing shade at the people who didn't select her, or at the very least saying she's happier to have the finals MVP than the regular season MVP. She'll be talking her stuff, I think.
Oh yeah. And I think the other part about this is that, you know, there's a whole super team, you know, talk around the Liberty are a super team and the Aces are a super team. Candace Parker is not playing right now. She's out indefinitely with an injury. So this is pretty much the same team as last year for the Aces. And I think they kind of take that personally of like, okay, were we a super team before? Now we're not. Are we? Like, I think they want to prove that they are just as good as they were last year when they won the WNBA championship, if not better, because I feel like A'ja has gotten better somehow than her MVP championship year. So they have that going for them. And yeah, I think A'ja isn't going to say, okay, Breanna Stewart, come at me. But they do want to prove that they are better than the Liberty, even though they lost to the Commissioner Cup, even though they've got blown out multiple times. So I think the Aces have to kind of put up or shut up. Like, this is the time to be like, okay, we are the better team. You have to prove it in the finals. That's all we're going to talk about at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, if they win their second straight, and now you're heading into next season talking about a potential three-peat, like, you do have to start talking about the Aces in that conversation of what are the best WNBA teams ever. And obviously you can talk to your co-host / GOAT, Sheryl Swoops about dominant teams. But I mean, how many?
Yeah, Sheryl will say, wake me up when you win 4 in a row.
Exactly, yeah.
She really will.
Now, when's the last time someone repeated?
So that was 2001, 2002 LA Sparks. So that's Lisa Leslie.
So long.
Very long. So you even think about the Minnesota Lynx in there.
That's what I was going to say. I would have guessed them.
They didn't repeat. It was really like every other
them and
year.
Sparks, right?
Yeah. Going back and forth, and then the Mercury got in there a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Storm never repeated. Yeah.
Yeah, the Storm have had multiple championships, but not back to back to back. Like, that's where this makes it so unique. But then on the other side, you have the Liberty, who has never won a WNBA championship, and they are the only original WNBA franchise to not win a WNBA championship, which sounds insane because you think of all the greats who have worn a Liberty jersey, and the fact that this is their first time in the finals since 2002 when Becky Hammon was wearing a Liberty jersey. Like, that is insane. So both of these teams, there's storylines, there's drama, there's MVP, but there's also the historical franchise concept. The Aces want to be in those back-to-back, in those conversations of some of the best franchises ever. And then you have people from the Liberty wanting to win that first franchise championship. That's why that Commissioner's Cup was so huge. That's like the first thing that they've ever won. They were so happy. So there's both sides of this historical concept as well, which I think ups the ante a little bit.
Yeah. Are there any stories, obviously we know the major players, but are there any stories or players that you are looking that you think might surprise people? Obviously, Betnijah Laney has had a really solid run of games, and she's not necessarily someone that would be on the Liberty's marketing material for their super team. Is there anything that you think might become a story that isn't the obvious, like Brianna versus Asia battle?
I think it's Betnijah Laney commanding that respect. You know, they left her off of the marketing materials for going into the finals, even though she was the key piece for the Liberty getting to the finals. She balled out all of these playoffs, and every time that she scored more than 14 points, they won. That one game that they lost to Connecticut, she only had 3 points, and that is a reason why they lost. So she is a huge catalyst of this Liberty team, and I think in these first 2 rounds, we're like, okay, we'll let it slide, but when she shows up in the finals, you're not going to be able to ignore the type of player on both sides of the ball that Betnijah Laney is, and for this Liberty team. I think for the Aces, I was just talking about this on another podcast. You know, this is kind of Kia Stokes' time to say, I got JJ. Like, we are going to look at that matchup inside. I don't really think that they're going to put Asia on JJ that much because the refs have been atrocious, and we don't want a finals matchup where Asia Wilson is in foul trouble. That's not fun for anybody. Nobody wants that. So if you have Kia Stokes on Jonquel Jones, then it's your time. Like, this is your role on this team. We're not asking you to score. You are surrounded by all-stars, and everybody else is going to do the scoring. You even have Alicia Clark coming off the bench. She's going to score. Kia Stokes, your job is to limit JJ not only from scoring, but to one shot for the Liberty, because JJ has been getting double-doubles and just killing it on the glass. So if Kia Stokes rises to that occasion and can limit JJ from being so dominant on that end of the floor, then I think that's a win for the Aces.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. As far as WNBA finals atmosphere, obviously the Liberty, this is their first time, like you're saying. They do play in the Barclays Center, New York, which is a big arena, and it's where the Nets play as well. You've got them starting to get the celebrity sideline, courtside culture going on. But the Aces, I think, might have a bit more of the dedicated fan base. It's, you know, not as much going on in terms of sports in Las Vegas. The more things are getting added. Do you think that one arena is going to be harder for the opposing team to play into? Like, yeah, maybe New York has some of the glitz and glamour, but they might not have like the intense fandom. How do you think the home court advantage is going to be for each team?
I think it's going to be so important. Like, this is like the 6th player for each team that they can use to weaponize. It is going to be so important, more than any other game, any other series, to hold home court. Like, you have to take care of business on home court, because I think the Aces do not want to go and try to steal one on the road in Barclays. It's going to be really hard. We've seen that in the regular season, how they've kind of been rattled a little bit by just the roaring stands and the sold out crowd of Barclays. Like, it's intense. I just see it through the TV and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to be on that court. I don't want to be at that free throw line. Like, it's scary. But this works to the Aces' advantage because that game 5 is going to be in Vegas. Like, they are the number 1 team, the number 1 seed. So you just have to hold home court. Like, I think that's going to be so important. And then to be able to come back and win it in 5 games on the Aces home court is what's going to happen. And that's going to be the goal, because you don't want to have to try to win it on the goal.
Is that your official Jordan Robinson prediction?
Yes, it is. I said it earlier today, and so I'm saying it now. We deserve 5 games, first of all. We deserve
yes,
it.
Please. I mean, truly, we deserve 7, but that's just how the league is.
I know.
Yeah.
We deserve 7, but if you give us 5, we'll take it. And the Aces go back-to-back 5 games. That's my having
to resist a "that's what she said" in that moment. I'm sorry, Jordan. It's not. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud that that's my instinct. I'm not proud that that's where my brain goes to. But you know, let's get back to talking about basketball. Enough of this. Now, I believe that, and I'm sure you've been to games at the Barclays Center. They are definitely selling tickets for the entire stadium. Like I was looking at ticket prices, and I think usually it is the lower bowl that is sold.
Oh, yeah.
But for the
And
finals,
I think they did for
it's
the playoffs,
everywhere.
but the finals, it's the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's like even to just get into the arena is, I don't know, $100 on the secondary market, and that to me is just awesome. Like
So
people
good.
are excited about
Yeah.
it. Like it's a cool vibe for sure.
It's so cool just to see the growth. And I think Aces too just have the most growth in their fan base, like year over year, just growing. They had a couple games at T-Mobile Arena because usually they're at Michelob Ultra Arena. It's growing. People
They
are
should play in the
excited.
Sphere.
People want to watch. I know. Let's do it. No, I think it's so cool. And I love what you said too about kind of those homegrown fans. But man, New York, I don't think I have to tell you guys. They are like, what? We have a team in the finals? Like, what's going on? We have a possibility to win something? Like, the whole city is turning out, and there's going to be so many celebrities there. I think this is just, that's why I was always for super teams. Like,
Yeah.
I want good games, but this is just growing the league for years and years to come. And so many eyes, so many new fans. The level of entry to WNBA fandom is right there. When you see I think there's 5 number 1 draft picks all going to be on the court at one time with both of these teams. So I just want new fans to come. I want old fans who were at the very first Liberty game to be like, wow, we are
People
back
who went
in
to
the
the
finals.
Westchester County Community
Yes.
Center.
People
I've
who
been
saw
there
them
for
at Radio
games.
City Music Hall.
Yes.
Like so many levels
Yeah.
of New York Liberty fandom to be back in the finals, like historic wise, is so cool. So cool.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's a great thing that the two teams that spent probably the most money and put the most like infrastructure and effort into creating a good environment for their players. I mean, we talked a lot about the WNBA's. We talked a lot about the Aces. Brand new practice facility that is like far and away the most state of the art in the league, and that's great. I think teams should be rewarded for spending money. I always. It's a ongoing joke that we make baseball references here, but I hate it when people like fetishize the Tampa Bay Rays and the Oakland Athletics. It's like, it's not cool to spend no money on things. Like,
Right. Yeah.
so I'm all for
I
it.
think it'd be great if it would set the tone that, like, look, if you spend money on the team will be good. And Jordan, you mentioned earlier WNBA growth, and today the WNBA official account quote tweeted someone saying expand the league, and they said something like, "We heard you" or something.
Yeah, they're trolling us. They're trolling us.
Really?
All of
that's
our
crappy.
group chats are going crazy. I'm like, you have a week until the finals. You got to do something, and they are just making something up. Here's the thing, though, that gets me excited. Because the Warriors have said that they are excited about bringing a WNBA team to the Bay Area. They would be based in Oakland. They would have a practice facility in Oakland, but they would play at the Chase Center in San Francisco. And when I was reading that article, again, from The Athletic, Marcus Thompson wrote that story. They said there could be an announcement in October. So it is October 3rd that we are recording this. So that's where it kind of maybe could be something. But this is just goes against everything that the W has been telling us for the past couple years, is that we've had 100 teams. Now we're down to 50 cities, and now we're down to 20 cities. And then it's just like, okay, these are the first people that wrote the check. So you're the first spot. You're the number 1 spot. So I'm like, what happened to those other cities? Are we going to get more than one? Is this still the Bay Area team that Damian Lillard's mom was a part of trying to bring? That was a couple years ago. So I have so many questions, but I think that they are stalling because we don't have finals content until a week. So now they're just trolling
So
us.
it's just do something to muster up excitement
That's
until...
my take. That's my take. Not
dang.
trying to get to, I'm not getting excited
Look.
about expansion until
Okay.
there is like a graphic and a mascot and a sign signature that I can see the ink is dried. Like, then I'll get excited about expansion.
Okay, yeah. I'm excited of the prospect of it whenever it does happen, because it is so wild just that there are so many good players that just don't find their way onto rosters. When you have people getting taken even in the second round of the draft and then they don't make the team, it's just so bizarre, where it's like, clearly we need more spots for some of these great players if they want to play in the W. And hopefully the fandom can continue to grow and there are people who want to put money into teams. And I think, Adam, you make a good point. Like, this season proved more than any, hey, if you pour money into the team, at least in the current state of the league, your results are pretty good. And hopefully this would encourage more money coming into the league, grow the league, more fans. Like, it's one of those things where it's just a cycle. So I hope we get expansion, but I'm glad you've tempered those excitements so I don't get my hopes up too much.
Lower it. Well, it's just gonna be a huge announcement like tomorrow, but I still
We're
just want to
lower. In Houston, the Comets are back, baby.
I just want to lower the bar, and this is more for myself, just so I don't get super excited. But there's a couple things that I want to say to that really quick, because I feel like a whole podcast episode could just be on expansion. But I think before we even get to more cities, we need to add the roster spots. There's a limited number of roster spots that teams have, where I think if you add 2 more roster spots to every single team, that is so many more players that don't get cut, right? That's more money going into each roster rather than getting a whole nother team, again, with a limited number of roster spots. So I think there's still an expansion conversation where it's not necessarily a city. So that's one part.
What is the current roster size?
I believe it is 12.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah, that's pretty
12.
small compared to the NBA is like 14, and then you have two-way players that can go back and forth between the league and the G League.
Because you have the 12, and then if 3 people are injured, then now you're getting into hardship contracts, and you don't have practice players. Like, pay practice players to just be there in case somebody gets injured. Like, that's an expansion. That would be growth for the WNBA. So that's what I stand on always. And then I was able to see that practice facility in Las Vegas. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is a lot money, millions of dollars, designed by women. Like, it is incredible. And this is going to start the trend of exactly what you guys are talking about. The Aces went back to back. Is it because they have a multi-million-dollar practice facility that they don't have to ask to rent out, and they can get shots, and they have weights, and they have a train? Yes,
probably doesn't hurt.
Is the reason. That is absolutely the reason. And if you talk to Aces players, they say that. This is why we're winning games, because we can get shots up whenever we want. Like, the basic baseline. I talked about in one of the episodes in Queens of the Court about charter flights and how in the NBA, you think, every team just had charter flights. That was just a given. That's what they've had from the beginning. No, it was the Bad Boy Pistons where the owner bought a plane and said, I'm tired of them flying commercials, so we're going to do this. And then they went to the NBA Finals, and the other owners were like, okay, we're also going to buy a plane because this seems like it works. So the owners want to be able to one-up each other, and that's what needs to happen in the W for that growth to happen. Or else, if you keep letting these owners write off WNBA teams as taxes or a charity case, then that's going to be the brand. If you make people like Mark Davis say, I want money, this is an investment, I'm going to grow more money here. You have Tom Brady officially signing on to the Aces because he sees dollar signs behind it. Dwayne Wade getting in on the Chicago Sky being like, I want to make money off of this. Once we start getting that notion around the WNBA that you can make money if you invest in this league, then it's only up from here.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Pit billionaires against each other.
Yes!
And it'll make us all benefit.
I'm still just thinking about Bill Laimbeer cramming his big ass into economy.
WNBA coach Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan, thank you so much. This is delightful. It's always a joy to have you on the pod. Obviously, we've talked about Queens of the Court, but if people want to find you doing anything, hear you talking about WNBA or other things, because you got the Pac-12 stuff, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Jordan Liggins or on Twitter at HeyJordanR.
Fantastic. Well, Jordan, thank you again. And we are very excited to see how the finals play out. And we'll see if your prediction of Aces in 5 holds true. And,
Lord, just give us 5 games, whatever the outcome.
Just please. I don't care. I know. I want 5 games at a buzzer beater. We deserve this. We have been through 40 games in the regular season. We deserve this. Thank you for
Thanks so
having
much.
me.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse. Horse is hosted by Adam Mamawala and Mike Schubert. Our editor is Kensei Suramaki. The website is by Kelly Schubert. The music is by Bettina Kampamanis. The art is by Allison Wakeman. And the social media is by both of the Horse Boys.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris. How about them World NBA-ish champions, Denver Steam Nuggets. Anna Reed, Steph Curry claims to eat Subway, but come on now.
Chomp.
Chomp, indeed. Hi, Trish, Nicole Shepard, Chase Underrulo, Mr. Bubbles Plays Ball, Naked Rachel, Josh Isn't Rich, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, and for the first time ever this week, Chelsea's cousin. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
Horse Hoops, that account was run by that person who put Asia Wilson fourth.
I knew you were going to say that, and I knew it.
What do you do? What do you do? It's
just egregious.
It baffles me. I don't get it.
It's the same as when someone, like, there's going to be a unanimous Hall of Fame vote and one person doesn't. Like, you're just being a troll.
The one person who didn't vote Jeter because they were like, no one should be unanimous if Babe Ruth wasn't.
Yeah.
A good thing. That's just
silly. Silly.
Silly indeed.
But you can go to our website, horsehoops.com, for links to many of the things we talked about today, including Damian Lillard's farewell to Blazers fans and much, much more.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to support the Horse Boys, you can do so in a couple of ways. You can go to patreon.com/horsehoops, and you can get access to a whole bunch of content, such as the thing Adam and I are going to try to keep coming every other week, which is our little video talks. We had the one about Dame trade the morning after it happened. You can hear what I sound like 2 minutes after I wake up if you want to get a little load of Mike Schubert morning voice. And we'll be keeping those going, you know, with WNBA finals stuff or other basketball, NBA offseason things, whatever that be. Then you can also go to horsehoops.com/merch. You can get digital merchandise. You can get Sup Nerds t-shirts. Lots of good stuff there. And also, you can just tell folks about us, and that's a great way to support us. Word of mouth does a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, we never asked for it. Give us some, like us and give us a nice rating on iTunes or wherever you listen to this.
Truly, whether you tell someone in person or you post about the show on social media, that really does help. So anyway, you spread the show, that is much appreciated.
Yeah, maybe you went to college with Mike and you want to tell your cousin about it. I mean, who's to say?
Who is to say? But now we're going to put our hands in the middle and say something on the count of three to cheer for something.
I got you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes there.
No. Maybe we're going to think of the same thing. What are you saying?
Well, I think we agreed with Jordan that we just want a 5-game series.
That's what I was saying. I was going to say
Aces or Liberty. I think we just say someone in 5 on 3.
Okay, cool. Yeah, someone in 5. Oh, wait, what about this? We are cheering for 5 games. So what if we say 4-5 after 1, 2, 3? So we're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I think that works.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
4, 5.
One of my favorite things I used to do on my college intramural sports teams, if we had a team thing, I would always put our hands in the middle and say, let's say 4 on the count of 3. So then you go 1, 2, 3, 4.
That is, I like that a lot.
Never gets old.